Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I begin in the name of Allah, the All Beneficent, the All Merciful. Nuqoosh Ismat, Imam Musa Kazim, peace be upon him, Part 2. Evidences of the Imamat of Imam Musa ibn Jafar, peace be upon him. First, Mufaddal ibn Umar Jofi. He was the most reliable elder. He asked Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, peace be upon him, who the Imam would be after him, who is to be accepted as an Imam and given obedience. Imam replied, my son Musa. Reference Biharul Anwar, Volume 11, page 234, Kamaluddin wa Tamamun Nema, page 203, Kitabul Irshad, page 308. Second, Yazid ibn Sulait. He was an extremely religious and God-fearing man. He met Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, peace be upon him, on way to Makkah, and he said, may my parents be sacrificed on you. You are an Imam, but no one is exempt from death. Thus, if something happens to you, who will be the Imam? Imam gestured to his son Musa and said, he is having all the good qualities like knowledge, wisdom, understanding, generosity, cognition of Islamic law, good nature, good behavior to relatives. He is a door of mercy and is having another excellence in addition to these. The narrator asked, what is it? He replied, Allah will create from his progeny one who will be the helper and refuge of this ummah, who would be the standard of its guidance and effulgence personified. Through him, Almighty Allah would protect lives, solve disputes, and remove disunity. He would provide garments to the unclothed and feed the hungry. The fearful would get reassurance, the rain of mercy will descend. He would be the best of the sons and the most excellent leader. His statement would be the deciding statement, and his silence would be the silence of wisdom. Reference Biharul Anwar, Volume 11, page 234, Uyun Akhbar-e-Riza, Volume 1, page 23. Third, Dawood ibn Kathir. He says, son of the messenger, before you all have passed away, and if something happens to you, to whom should we refer? He replied, my son Musa. Reference Biharul Anwar, Volume 11, page 233, Uyun Akhbar-e-Riza, Volume 1, page 156. Fourth, Faiz ibn Mukhtar. He came to Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, peace be upon him, and began to talk about Imam Musa Kazim, peace be upon him, who meanwhile returned from home. And Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq said, Faiz, he is the one about whom you were asking me. Get up and accept his rightfulness for Imamat. Faiz kissed the hand and forehead of the Imam and then asked, Mawla, can this information be given to others? He replied, indeed, inform your family members and friends, but this information should not become public as times are very dangerous and the contemporary regime is always in pursuit of divine proof. Reference Biharul Anwar, Volume 11, page 234, Usul-e-Kafi, Basairud Darajat, Volume 7, Chapter 11, page 96, Irshad, page 307. In Ilm al-Wara, there is a similar traditional report from Muhammad ibn Abdul Jabbar. Fifth, Ibrahim Karkhi. He was in the company of Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, peace be upon him, when Imam Musa ibn Ja'far arrived. Ibrahim accorded respect to him, and Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq said, Ibrahim, after me he is your Imam. A community would be destroyed with regard to him, and another community would get salvation. May God curse his killer and double his punishment. From his progeny would be born the best of men who would eradicate injustice and oppressors from the world. From his descendants would appear the 12th Imam, accepting whom would be the same as fighting jihad on the side of the Holy Prophet. The conversation had reached this point when a stranger arrived, and the Imam fell silent, till Ibrahim left the gathering feeling remorse for the incomplete conversation. The following year he again came to the Imam and he said he would, after excessive hardships and fear, reform the condition of Shia and remove their sorrow and grief. Fortunate is the one who would be present in his service. Ibrahim was elated that the Imam's statement was complete. Reference Biharul Anwar, Volume 11, page 235, Kamaluddin wa Tamamun Nema, Volume 2, page 203. In the same book on page 360, there is a similar report from Ibrahim Kufi. 6th, Isa Alawi. He went to meet Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, peace be upon him, and said, "If, God forbid, something happens, who would be the Imam after you?" He replied, "My son Musa." Then he asked, "And after him?" He replied, "His son." He asked, "If among his inheritors there is a brother and a son, who would be his successor?" He replied, "His son." He asked, "What if I cannot recognize him?" Imam said, "You must just have faith that, my God, I believe in the Imam who is the proof after him." Reference Usul-e-Kafi, Volume 1, page 309, Biharul Anwar, Volume 11, page 235, Ilamul Wara, page 288. 7th, Maad ibn Kathir. He came to Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, peace be upon him, and said, "I pray to the Almighty that like He has given you this position in place of your father, He should create such a worthy person in your progeny as well." Imam replied, "Allah has already created him." In saying this, he gestured to his son Musa, who was asleep at that moment. Reference Usul-e-Kafi, Volume 1, page 308, Al-Irshad, page 308, Biharul Anwar, Volume 11, page 236. 8th, Mansur ibn Hazim. He came to the Imam and said, "No one can be said to live forever. In case something happens to you, who would be the Imam after you?" Imam replied, "This son of mine, Musa." He was aged only 5 years at that time. Reference Usul-e-Kafi, Volume 1, page 309, Al-Irshad, page 308, Biharul Anwar, Volume 11, page 236. 9th, Sulaiman ibn Khalid. He was seated in the gathering of Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq along with others when Imam Musa ibn Ja'far arrived. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq said, "He would be your Imam and Wali after me." 10th, Ishaq ibn Ja'far. He says, "I was there with my father when Imran ibn Ali asked, 'Who would be the Imam after you?' He said, 'The first to enter this room.' Just then Musa entered the gathering and he was only a few years old." Reference Al-Irshad, page 265, Kashful Ghumma, page 244. 11th, Ali ibn Ja'far. He says, "My father said to a group of his companions, 'Behave nicely with my son Musa, as he is the best in the world after me. He would be my successor.'" Reference Al-Irshad, page 310, Biharul Anwar, volume 11, page 236. 12th, Zurarah ibn Ayyin. He says, "I was present with Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, peace be upon him, and Imam Musa ibn Ja'far was also present, and a buyer was also placed there. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq said, 'Call Humran, Abu Basir, and Dawood Iraqi from my companions.' I brought all of them, and by chance Mufaddal ibn Umar and other companions also arrived. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq removed the sheet from the face of Ismail and asked, 'Dawood, is he dead or alive?' He said, 'He has passed away.' The Imam made everyone witness this, and after that began the funeral rites. After that, Imam again showed his face to all those who were present that he is Ismail who has already passed away. After that, he ordered him to be buried. When the body was lowered into the grave, the Imam displayed his face to everyone again and asked, 'Who is the one that is being buried?' All said, 'It is Ismail.' Imam held the hand of his son Musa and said, 'This is the rightful Imam, and truth is with him, and would continue in his generations.' Reference Biharul Anwar, volume 11, page 238. The aim of all these clarifications was that the community should not have any doubt about the death of Ismail, and that they should become certain of the Imamat of Imam Musa, because a group of people had already started believing that Ismail would be the Imam, and a community is still involved in this misunderstanding, and they do not have any justification of this. Confessions. He was the successor and inheritor of Imam Ja'far in knowledge and divine cognition, and was the greatest worshipper and charitable personality of the world. Reference Ibn Hajar Makki, page 121. He was the owner of extreme dignity and majesty, and was a respectable personality. He possessed every kind of excellence and was a renowned personality of his time. He spent his nights in prayers and fasts and gave charity during the days. Reference Ibn Talha Shafi'i, Matalibus Su'ul, page 308. He was very respected and honorable Imam and a majestic divine proof. He spent the nights awake in prayers and fasted during days. Reference Allama Shibli, Anwarul Akhbar, page 135. He was the greatest scholar, worshipper, and the most charitable person of his time. He possessed a lofty soul. Reference Fusulul Muhimma, Arjahul Matalib, page 451, Ibn Sabbagh Maliki. He was the most sincere worshipper and pious man of his time. His excellences and perfections are innumerable. Reference Hussein Waiz Kashifi, Rawzatul Shuhada, page 432. He was the greatest personality of the world from the aspect of knowledge and cognition, and became the guardian of Ummah according to the nomination of his father. Reference Rawzatul Ahbab. Miracles. Shakik Balkhi, who possesses great importance among the Sufis, he says, in 149th year after Hijrah, I set out for Hajj. I saw a man amidst a crowd at Qadsiya, and from his appearance guessed that he was a Sufi who wants to be a burden on the community. I stepped forward to chastise him, but he addressed me by my name and said, beware, do not have misgivings. So I became certain that he was a holy man. I moved ahead to search for him and again found him engrossed in worship at Fizza Valley, and made an intention to seek his forgiveness for having thought ill of him. When I came near him, he said, Allah forgives the sins of those who seek forgiveness. Now I became sure that he was from Abdal. But he moved ahead. On the Zubala stage, I again saw him that he was trying to draw water when the bowl fell into the well, and he whispered a confidential prayer to Almighty Allah that he could do nothing without the bowl, and there was no way it could be removed. The water level in the well arose, and he picked up the filled bowl, and after ablution offered 4 units of prayer, and after putting a handful of sand in the bowl, began to eat from it. I went near him and complained about hunger. He gave some of it to me also, and I found that it was a very good quality parched barley meal, after consuming which I never felt hungry all the way to Makkah. In Makkah, I again saw that he was seated on a mound engrossed in worship. Tears were flowing from his eyes, and this continued all night. Then he performed a tawaf, and there were innumerable persons around him who were paying much respect to him. I asked someone, who is this miracle performing gentleman? He said, he is the son of the messenger, Imam Musa ibn Jafar. I realized that such miracle acts cannot come from any other household. Reference Arjahul Matalib, page 452, Matalibus Su'ul, page 279, Sawaikul Muhrika, page 121, Nurul Absar, page 135, Shawahidun Nubuwa, page 193. Isa Madaini went for Hajj. After staying in Makkah for a year, went to Medina. He intended to stay there also for a year, so he rented a house and began to frequent the place of Imam Musa Kazim, peace be upon him. One evening, he was in the company of Imam Musa, and it was raining heavily. The Imam said, go back fast, your house has collapsed. He ran out to his place and found that people were salvaging his things from the debris. The following day he came to the Imam and he asked, have you lost anything? Isa said, only a tray is missing. It seems that people lost it while retrieving the goods. Imam said, before the house crash, you had placed it in the washroom and forgotten about it. Now go and ask the daughter of the landlord, and she would get it for you. Isa Madani returned and asked about it, and as per the information of the Imam, he got the tray back. Reference Nurul Absar, page 135. A person sent 100 dinars along with a companion. On reaching Medina, he thought of purifying the money. After purifying them, when he counted them again, he found that 1 dinar was less. So added 1 dinar of his own and presented the pouch to the Imam. Imam said, pour it out on the ground. He did that. Imam returned his dinar saying, the owner sent by weight, and their number was 99 only. so need to add your own money. Reference Rawahil Mustafa, page 162, Shawahidun Nubuwa. A person says, Ali ibn Yaqteen sent some questions to the Imam through me. I gave the envelope to the holy Imam, who, without opening it, took out a letter from his sleeve and gave it to me, saying, Pass it to Ali ibn Yaqteen and say, These are replies to your questions. Reference Shawahidun Nubuwa, page 195. Abu Hamza Batayani says, Once during the journey to Hajj, a lion was seen, and it came to the Imam and whispered something. The Imam replied in his language, and it went away. When I asked the secret of this miracle, the Imam said his mate was in trouble. He asked me to pray for her, and I did that. Being satisfied, he went back. Reference Tazkiratul Masumeen, page 193. Morals and manners. Although the whole life of Masumeen used to be an embodiment of the best manners and morals, but especially in social life and in the field of propagation, they displayed such excellent manners that not to be impressed by them could only be possible by a stone-hearted and an unfortunate person. Thus, Allama Hilli has narrated in Minhajul Karama that when the Imam was spending a life of great hardships in Baghdad, one day he was passing on road when he saw a house decorated with finery of celebration, and the sound of singing emanated from that house. Just then the slave maid came out to throw garbage. The Imam asked, Who is the owner of his house? A slave or a free man? She said, A free man. Imam said, Indeed, if it had been a slave, he would have obeyed his master. Saying this, he moved on. When the slave girl returned inside the house, Bushr, the master of the house, asked why she took such a long time, and she narrated the incident. Bushr was so much affected that he started running barefoot, and after meeting the Imam, sought divine forgiveness, and in memory of this incident, walked barefoot all his life. And when some people asked him for its reason, he said, Almighty Allah has compared the earth to a carpet, and no one can dare to walk on the carpet of God wearing shoes. Reference Al-Kuna wal Alqab, Volume 2, page 168. To create such a great revolution in the mind of a person with only a short statement that he should leave off profanities and come till the ranks of piety and purity, it can be an achievement of Imam Musa Kazim only, whose example is not found even among the divine saints. On one side, to make the female prostrate that Harun had sent and to make her a sincere worshipper was an excellent example of the propagation of the Imam. Reference Manaqib ibn Shahrashub, Volume 5, page 63. After which it can be easily said that to save one's character in the worst circumstances was an achievement of the infallible of Egypt, Prophet Yusuf, and to make the lady adopt one's way is the feat of the prisoner of Baghdad, Musa ibn Jafar. Such a change came over the character of Bishr al-Hafi that even some wise sayings have been recorded from him. Make the year after as your treasure trove, so that whatever you get in the world you consider it profit. Sufficient for your admonition is that some persons are dead, but their mentions impart life to the hearts, and some persons are alive, but seeing them creates hardness of the heart. Pay zakat for traditions also, that you should act on at least 5 out of every 200 traditions. Muhammad ibn Naeem asked for admonition when he was ill. Imam said, There was an ant in this house which gathered grains in summer for use in winter. Once, when it set out with the grain, a bird snatched it away and gathered grain didn't serve any purpose. Same is the case of man. He should gain a lesson from the circumstances of the ant. Reference Al-Kuna wal Alqab, Volume 2, page 168. Inscription on the finger ring. The inscription on the ring of Imam Musa Kazim said, Allah is sufficient for me. It was a perfect interpretation of the circumstances of his times and a clear announcement of his reliance on God. Reference Amali Sheikh Saduq, page 451, Al-Kafi, Volume 6, page 473. Worship. The style of the worship of Imam Musa Kazim was also completely different. He used to thank the Almighty even in the life of prison that he had got the best opportunity for worship, and it is this stance which bewildered the regime of that period. that even in such hard times the Imam did not have any anxiety or worry, whereas the regime was anxious due to lack of his anxiety. Such was the condition of his worship that after morning prayers, when he placed his head in prostration, he raised it only when it was time for noon prayer. And in spite of the fact that he was an infallible, he used to whisper confidential prayer to God. O Lord, great are the sins of your servant, so your forgiveness should also be in accordance to that which shows the Imam's concern for his followers and how much he arranged for their intercession. So much so that he was called as the one who performed long prostrations. Reference Wasilatun Najat, page 310, quoted from Faslul Khitab, Yanabiul Mawadda, chapter 65, page 321, Shawahidun Nubuwa, page 194, Nurul Absar, page 135, Ilmul Wara, page 178, Sawane Musa Kazim, page 8. Harun al-Rashid, also seeing this majesty of worship, had told the prison warden, "This fellow is not worthy of this imprisonment, but should be done. The kingdom cannot run without making him a prisoner." It was the effect of this dignity that whichever prison he was imprisoned, the warden of that jail became sympathetic to him, and in spite of persuasion of regime, did not agree to torture him or administer poison to him. So much so that even when Sanadi ibn Shahik poisoned him, he called 80 persons and recorded their testimony that Imam had not been poisoned and that he was in perfect condition. The Imam told them not to testify and said, "I will die as a result of this poison after 3 days. Beware, do not dye your hands with this innocent blood." As a result of this, after they went away, the oppressor Sanadi ibn Shahik began to wrap him up in the sheet in such a way like a cloth is ringed, and because of this the Imam was martyred. After which the body was shown to the people and asked to testify that no mark of injury is there and that he has died a natural death, which is the best sign of the guilty conscience of the oppressor and the manifest victory of the Imam. وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا عَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ. And do not think that Allah to be heedless of what the unjust do. The Holy Quran, Surah Ibrahim, chapter 14, verse 42. Reference Hadiyan Barhaq, volume 2, page 740, Sawaikul Muhrika, Sawane Imam Musa Kazim, Arjahul Matalib, Jannatul Khulud, Anwar-e Nomaniya.